Hi, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. Joining myself Southside on the show this evening is Jaffa in Port Bear. How you doing, Jaffa?
All right, pal, how's yourself? Thanks for having me on Rangers Radio. Looking forward to a good chat tonight, mate.
Aye, good to be on tonight, mate. I think the last time we sat in the right good chat was that Braga away trip, if you remember.
That was a great night, mate. That was a great night. Great day, great night, great. It was just brilliant, wasn't it?
Aye, I think that's what we're talking about just the other night when we were asking about the difference in some away trips that you go to, and that one, for me, going there, it was dead relaxed that day, and like you said, and the Bears were in full voice, and it was just relaxing to sit out all day and night, and enjoy everything,
It was brilliant, mate. Aye. We had a good chinwag that night, between singing a few songs, of course.
I think Port Bears back way, so are you there, Port Bud?
Hi, how we doing, guys? Sorry to be technical issue here.
Hi, Port, how you doing?
Aye, good, mate. Aye, good to be on with both of yous. Not been on with both of yous for a long time. Had a good wee week off, actually. Enjoyed my time off. What about yourselves? How's it been? Looking forward to the game of the weekend, the Legends game.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going. I'm going along on Sunday, Port. So I'm looking forward to taking the game in, obviously. And there's some starting line up there. There's some cracking names there, which I'm no doubt we'll touch on as the show gets on tonight.
What about yourself, Southside? What's your opinion on the Legends game? Are you going along and?
No. I'm not. I've seen the squad. Some of the players look good in the squad. I'm not going along, Port. It's not something I generally go to for the Legends games. Don't mind going to charities and stuff, but I'm not going along at the weekend.
Aye. Let's have a wee look at the squad, guy. We'll go through the Rangers squad first of all, and we'll reminisce and who we thought were, let's just say hits and misses, and who big influences when we signed them originally, etc. Obviously the two goalkeepers, I mean, they weren't particularly first starters, although I did think Ronald Waterus was a very good keeper for when we got him. He just had a tough time trying to dislodge Stefan Kloss, didn't he? What's your thoughts on the goalkeepers? Yeah, how did they impact your Rangers supporting lives, and were they decent keepers for yourselves? Jaffa?
Roy Carroll. Ronald Waterhouse, I agree with you. He was a good goalie. Ronald Waterhouse, Port. He was a really good goalie when he came in. He done everything he was supposed to do. But you're right, Stefan Kloss was just on a different level of him. But he was a good backup keeper. My memory of Roy Carroll, when we signed him, was the Celtic game away that he came in for. Round about that time, was it Walter Smith that signed Roy Carroll?
I believe it was, mate.
Aye, I remember that game at Parkhead. I think we trounced them as usual. I remember he was given a loudie into the Rangers end. So I've got good memories of Roy Carroll. I was at a few games with Ronald Waterhouse, but nothing stand out from my memory, to be honest with you. But Roy Carroll, certainly, I remember him giving it big licks to the other side, which is always nice to see, isn't it?
Yourself, Southside, the goalkeepers, are they probably the weakest part of the squad that's been put together?
Well, probably since Andy Gorham's no longer with, because he would have been in there doing the job, wouldn't he, at the Legends games, as always. But Roy Carroll, a big Rangers fan, wasn't he, and had a decent career. And Ronald Waterus, he came in and done no a bad job when at his time when he was at Rangers. Eventually left. I think he was just about to get ousted back out the team, wasn't he, at that time, and he left. But for the time he was there, Port, he done a decent job for us, I'm sure it was Alberts that put one by him when we won 1-0. We won 1-0 against PSV Eindhoven, or PSG, can't remember. Eindhoven, wasn't it?
Eindhoven, yeah.
Aye, Eindhoven. Big Alberts beat him for the edge of the box. that night. That was an amazing night. But aye, it was good for the time he was there at Rangers. He wasn't the worst goalkeeper we ever had playing for us, mate.
The next one on the list, boys, is, in my opinion, I think he's doing as a cult hero, and maybe one of Paul Le Guen's sort of worst, best ever signings, because we brought him in as a centre back, and he became a cultured left back and was Mr. Consistent, Mr. 8 out of 10 in my opinion, week in, week out. Sasa Papic. What do you think yourselves, boys?
I loved Papic, to be honest with you, Port. I thought he was a brilliant player, as you say. He became a bit of I mean, he just saw every manager away, didn't he? Everybody kept shouting and bawling for him, but he was steady Eddie all the time, consistent, very rarely injured. And I read recently he still follows the Rangers. In fact, I think he's an agent nowadays. And he, as far as I'm led to believe, he still gets some strong connections at the club and passing information on certain players for that part of the world. So, no, Sasa Papic was a great signing. He came in, nobody knew who he was or knew of him. But as you say, and that you often find that with players like that, that come in and they make a position their own and they just take to us, and it ends up being a big part of their life. I can't remember how long Sasa Papic was actually with us. 8 years, maybe, round about that, maybe more.
I think he was certainly at the club a long time, and nailed in that position. As I say, in the early days under Le Guen, seeing him at centre back, because he wasn't a big strapping, what Bridgeman loves, 6'5", centre back that smashes people. He was sort of more cultured, good with the ball in the deck, quite comfortable, but it just didn't seem to work for him in that position. And for him to turn round, in my opinion, it was Walter Smith when he came back. He done that, get the best out of what he always does, gets the best out of everybody, and put him at left back. And we never looked back after that Southside, did we?
Aye, Sasa was he was a great player. I liked him. I thought he was really, really good for the time he was at the Rangers. Can't really count on many occasions, Port, that he ever really let us down. I know there was one in the halfway line in a European game. He misjudged it and the team broke up the park. I can't remember the game, but they scored. And see, to be honest, in all the European games that I watched Sasa, there's nothing really else springs out in mind to me that I could say you were at fault, mate, or that, consistent, knew the game, had the passion, won many league titles and cups with us while he was there. I think he's well thought of by the Rangers support. And it would be good that he's coming back to Ibrox and playing in the Legends game, Port.
I hear mate. Totally agree. So I'm going to ask you in regards to these players, right? From 1 to 10, what are we giving Sasa? I'm giving him a steady 8, guys. In his time at Rangers.
I used to say, Port, that normally when Sasa played, you got your 8 out of 10 out of Sasa. Yeah. He was Mr. Consistent, I thought. In other games, you could maybe say he was a 9. But he was between an 8 and a 9. I would have said for most of his time he was at the Glasgow Rangers, in my opinion.
Fair, Jaffa?
Absolutely, 100%. I would echo that. I think he was always a great representative. He represented the club brilliantly, both on and off the park. He was a model professional. I think he definitely 8 or 9, like Southside said. I would echo that entirely.
Next player we move on to, guys, is Colin Henry. Big Braveheart himself. I must admit, when we signed him, I was excited. I thought this was the guy that was going to replace Richard Gough. That ilk. That never say die attitude. He's a ball the feet when it was at his feet. Whatever, put his face where it hurts. In my opinion, it didn't really work out for Colin Henry for reasons. I think Advocat didn't really want him, if I'm honest. Because Advocat liked to play for the back, and Colin Henry just wasn't that. He didn't have that cultured, footballing ability for playing it for the back. And I think that's what let him down. But the centre halves goes, I expected better for Colin Henry and what we got, but I think the manager had a lot to do with that. Southside.
Aye, he was definitely wanted to play for the Rangers. He was certainly a Rangers supporter. He came up and sort of he was all right for a while. It was when you see what he came into with the team, but he'd been doing in England and you were looking for him to be that leader. He didn't play that many games, I don't think, to be honest, between 2000 and 1998 to 2000. Did he? He didn't really. I think he played a lot of games, to be honest. But for what we've seen him, he was obviously braver than any of the centre backs we've got playing for us now. Old school centre back, Port, like you said, put his head in, put his body on the line, wasn't scared to put in the tackle, and he was decent in the air and no heart. Some of the centre backs we've had over the years don't show the character or the heart that he had while he played for the Rangers.
I think it's fair to say he's a sort of bridge man centre half, isn't it, guys?
Oh, aye. Big Henry was. He was. He was just a no nonsense centre back, wasn't he? He was all about power. I mean, he was a big well at himself, Colin Henry. I don't exactly know what height he was, but he was. I mean, yeah, he always scored out. He was always dangerous in the opposition box as well. He loved heading the ball, didn't he? He loved nothing better than putting his head right through the ball and clearing it and getting in a big sliding challenge. He was good. He was a good player for us, Colin Henry. I agree that the timing might not just have been right, Southside, but I mean, a lot of that stuff's out of players' control. They can't tell when a move's going to happen. It's sliding doors essentially for these things to take place. But one thing for sure you can't deny. Big Colin Henry's one of us. He's a blue nose through and through, and he loves the Rangers. It could be argued he had a more successful career in England than what he did even for us. So, he's a great big player. When he was on his day, and that's no in question. Paul, just a quick one. I don't know if it's of interest at all, but I just wonder if you want to run through. Have you got the actual full squad there? Who's playing in the Legends game on Sunday? What the Rangers team is? I've
got the Rangers team in front of me. Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's what we just the Rangers team. Mm-hmm.
Just wondered if it would be wise to if I go over the names, because I did see there's some cracking names there, isn't there?
Aye, I'll go through it right now, mate. It's no more. Right, so we goalkeepers are Ronald Bathurst and Roy Carroll. Defence, you've got Sasa Papic, Colin Henry, Marvin Andrews, Alan Hutton, Gregory Vignal, Lorenzo Amoruso, Bruno Alves. In midfield, Barry Ferguson, Big Alberts, Pedro Mendes, Ronald de Boer, Alex Ray, Charlie Adam. Your forwards are Shota Malanzi, Rod Wallace, Nikica Jelavic, Chris Boyd, Jermaine Defoe, Peter Lovenkrands, Kenny Miller, Jonathan Johansson and Daniel Kuzan. And the manager is Alex McLeish.
Some lineup, isn't it?
Aye, absolutely incredible, mate. Aye. So our next players.
I'm just going to say, there's the reason why I'm not going. Daniel Alves, Rangers legend. Really?
Aye.
Daniel Kuzan. Andy Dibble. Right, who we got to Red Port? Right, go. Who we got? What legend's next, mate?
The next legend is the guy that kept telling us that season, Southside. Keep believing. Big Marvin Andrews. I didn't think he'd ever just classmate. When we think him, I thought, what the hell is going on? I've seen better senior players, and his knees were buggered. Remember, it was well documented that he was supposed to go for knee operations, and he kept believing in the big man up the stair. And he completed the season, mate, and we won the league.
Yep,
so
I
did. What do you think of Marvin Andrews?
Like Marvin done well when he was at Livingston. He was just, obviously they played under a lot of pressure in the league, and when we went to get him, you could tell that he was going to be a guy who would try and win the ball for us. Never thought anywhere near Rangers class, but it just showed you that the guy had all heart and desire, and he wanted to get better. Obviously believed in the God at the big church up in Fife, and when he got the cruciate ligament injury, he said God was going to cure it, and he never went for the operation and carried on unbelievably. But here, Big Marvin, I thought, like again, I've seen a few worse centre halves than Big Marvin that have played for us. Big Rob Kiernan, pick him out. But no, I thought Big Marvin was good, mate. Also had success at the club, won the league trophies, cups. So it's great to see Big Marvin come back. I'm sure he'll get a great reception.
I will attend every Rangers event he's asked to go to. It's you see everything you see Facebook, he's on singing something, isn't he? He attends absolutely everything, so he does. Yourself, Jaffa, Big Andrew?
Aye, similar kind of thought process. I mean, a Rangers legend. I'm no, he was certainly a good player for us of his time. He was, where we were at that particular time. I thought he'd done well, and he did. He won some trophies, and that can't be denied. Big Marvin's a hell of a likeable big guy, isn't he? He's just he's became part of your fabric, and I like seeing that. I like seeing players that make an effort, and he obviously. It didn't get any better than playing for the Rangers for Big Marvin, and that is evident, Port. And that's rightly so, because he probably could never believe that he joined a club and a club like Rangers even wanted to come and sign him. But we did, and we did sign him. And I agree with Southside sentiments. I've seen some worse centre halves at Ibrox than Big Marvin Andrews. Gregor Stevens for one. I remember those days. But Big Marvin's a likeable big guy, and good to see him back at the Legends games.
It certainly worked out. It definitely worked out. He was I know again, a bridgeman style centre half, no nonsense. Like to put his body where he got hurt. Dangerous in the other box. You knew you were in a game. If you were a forward, you knew you were in a game playing against the big fella. I tell you, I wouldn't relish playing against him. The next one is a guy that I rated very, very highly. We get big money for him when he went to Spurs. Alan Hutton. Your thoughts on Alan Hutton, Southside?
Aye, Alan Hutton done well in that wonder season. He had a sort of season and a half, Port. He was attacking fullback, driving forward, started to get on the score sheet for the fullback position. Showed loads of potential at that time. Another one supported the Rangers and was all heart and desire, I think, when he played on the park, although he was a wee bit younger at the time and he was still learning the game. But then he gets a big move. He was playing consistently well for his Port. He was a driving force down the right-hand side of the team. And it got us, I think, was it 9 million, I think we got from
Right.
in the end, which is chunky money, mate, to be honest,
Known as a blue Cafu, mate. I thought he was one of the early ones, like Danny Alves at Barcelona, that sort of paved the way for these modern day fullbacks that could assist, score goals, had barrels of pace, could come down that right hand side, a bit like my current captain. I think, in my opinion, Alan Hutton was one of the sort of frontiers of fullbacks for these modern day attacking style, defenders. Only thing was, I think Alan could, in my opinion, Alan could defend. He could do both jobs. To be fair, Jaffa, what's your opinions on Alan Hutton, mate?
Yeah, similar, Port, when he first broke onto the scene, and I remember watching him going, who is this guy? I thought he was brilliant, Alan Hutton. I thought he was an amazing player. He really did. He took playing right back into a different level with that attacking part of his game. Almost looked like a right winger in many occasions. He had a real eye for getting into the opposition box. And it was really difficult to defend against because it was a new technique. It was his technique, and you're right. He was one of the first guys I'd ever seen doing that. Got the big money move. It was always going to happen at that particular period of time. And he went down to Spurs, and you know, he had a decent career, I guess. He's probably made himself a lot of money, and that's his prerogative. I thought he was great for us in that short period he broke onto the scene, but just a shame he wasn't with us longer, isn't it? But you know, that was not his situation. It was the more the situation the club was in at that particular time. Needed the money, and we had to take the money we were offered. And as Southside said, I mean, £9 million even then. Can't think how many years ago Alan Hutton was it he moved, but that's still hell of a money right now in this climate. So I think that's testament to him. Cracking player, top player, and he had everything. He had bags of everything.
Aye, totally agree, mate. And he carved a decent, you know, career for himself down south. You know, Aston Villa. He had a few other loans at other clubs, and like you said, mate, made himself for a very, very comfortable living down in England, which, you know, it's a hard place to crack playing the Premier League, guys. But Alan Hutton did it for some decent clubs in England, so fair play to him. Next one, Gregory Vignal. In my opinion, guys, I think Gregory Vignal had come in at the right time. I think, you know, played for Liverpool, played for Aston Villa. I think he had a spell at Newcastle, you know, and came to Rangers when we were basically working with a budget that, you know, was a lot lower than we were used to, certainly. But I think Gregory Vignal turned out a decent fullback for us, in my opinion, guys.
I think he was quite comfortable, Port. Quite technical. He could pass the ball. He understood the game. And I think since he was at the club and played, I'm sure he played in a cup final and that, didn't he? Hampden, trying to think what game it was, I can't remember. But Gregory Vignal, like you said, he was tidy. He got the bug when he came to the club. Done quite well for us at the time when we needed that sort of left back position. Managed to get on the score sheet for us a few times as well. But he looked a wee accomplished player for Port, you know. And like you say, for the time that we had him, he done a reasonable job.
Java?
I always felt with Gregory Vignal when I saw him in the early part when he first joined us, I thought, this boy looks a decent player. He'd some hit on him, he'd a stinger, a left peg on him. But I always felt he just never quite got there. Port, I didn't think he never ever seemed to put a long run of games in the team together. I think he was blighted with quite a few injuries, if my memory serves me correct. He was always carrying a calf strain, or he was out injured. He just never seemed to get into a real kind of fit period his career with Rangers. Clearly a brilliant player. Remember being at a few games watching him. I mean, right up close with the eyes, you know, in the stands, and thinking, geez, this boy's got it. He's got it. But and he was, I agree with Southside, he was a very technical player, something we hadn't seen a lot at Rangers on that left side. Always keen to get forward as well. But my lasting memories of Gregory Vignal was he had a right stinger of a left peg on him. He had a cracking shot on him.
I think he scored a couple of screamers, if I remember right. One against Dundee United, and I think he scored a peach against Hearts as well, about 30 yards out, right at the top corner. I think both of them are postage stamps. But good to get these phone lines open, guys, and let's see what the other bears have got to say about this. You know, their thoughts on the Legends game, first of all, and thoughts on some of these players, legends or not, and let's see what their thoughts are. So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye. So the next one on my list, guys, is Big Amo, Lorenzo Amoruso. A regular signing at the time for Fiorentina, who were a top side at Italy at the time. Gabriel Batistuta playing for them up front. Pedro Mendes, Rui Costa played in the middle of the park for them at the time. And he chose to leave Italy to come to the warmer climates of, you know, Glasgow and play for Glasgow Rangers, guys. I thought Big Amo had a had a bit of a bomb scary a start. I thought, Italians are renowned for their technical ability in defending. And I've got to admit, guys, at first I thought, what is this? Who is this guy? This guy's a midden. But once he gets settled, he became, in my opinion, part of the team that I watched continually win titles and was a big mainstay and one of the captains in that squad. Who I'll always remember. I think Amoruso was cultured, driven, passionate, everything you want to see for a player and your centre half. Southside.
The one thing I can say is I think Linda probably had a cardboard cutout of a Gamo. That's a
you better believe she did. Just the one. One in each room.
But what Big Amo, he came, he was flamboyant, wasn't he? He liked to get on the ball at the back and pose a bit and could want to take the defender on when it suited him. Sometimes successful, sometimes no successful. I think he brought a physical presence into the defence, Port, like you were saying. Pretty decent in the air. I know it took him a while. He came in and he'd been injured for a while, didn't he? I think he made his debut with me. I might be wrong, but I thought maybe up there at Celtic Park. I remember, unless that was his first game when I think he was nil on back or something, his first game back. He went in there anyway against them, and successful captain. Done no bad in Europe. Had some bomb scares in Europe as well. Sent half away to Borussia Dortmund and that. There was a bit of carry on with that sending off, if you remember. But on the whole, he was good for the club at the time, Port. And I'm sure he always talks about the club fondly. And he's back again because he's got the bug, I believe, and wants to come back. And, Big Amo, didn't he? Wants to come back. And you can imagine the head will be swept back and that, and you'll have the tan and that out, and the shorts will be pulled up. He'll be wanting to show off to the ladies.
If I remember, I'm sure I read that he was on the Italian version of Love Island. You know what I mean? He's still got it at his age, boys. Jaffa, opinion on Big Amo?
Oh, great memories of him, Port. He was brilliant for us. In the main, he was, as Southside said, he was, it was that kind of continental flair that he brought to the team. He was a brilliant defender. Don't take anything away from our football. He was a brilliant. For me, one of his biggest strengths was one-on-ones. He was really, really strong. Always, he always seemed to get the right side of the centre forward. He was a really strong defender. We never gave a lot of goals away. He had the clanger in him. Don't get me wrong. The big long lunging runs up front and then getting caught at the back and stuff like that. But he was overall over a sustained period of time. He was a highly consistent Rangers centre back, and that takes some doing, by the way. So no mean feat. He won plenty of silverware. No doubt he's got a trophy cabinet, in one of these restaurants that he probably brings out every day and shows people when he's dropped my margarita pizza to their table. I don't doubt he's got the love of Rangers, and he talks about us fondly, and it's good to see him back. I have to say, and I suspect he'll be doing clatty parties on Saturday night or Sunday night, prop him up the bar as he usually did.
I think the best scored against Aberdeen, guys. He scored some screamers, but I think the best one I saw him score was against Aberdeen. I think it was, and I'm sure it was for the edge of the box. He took the roof of the net.
He was a decorated captain, He was successful at his time at Rangers. That's how you're judged when you come and play for Rangers, And Big Amo was doing as being successful, obviously. Had the armband issue with Barry at the time, but big man was probably raging. But let's face it, he got on with it, as much as everybody had to at the time, and he still went out there without the armband. And he was a leader, wasn't he? He liked to tell people what to do and try and organise Port. So, but at the end of the day, he was captain and he picked up plenty of silverware, and that's what we hope that you do at Glasgow.
I think the modern player might have threw the doll at the pram and, went in the huff and not tried. A bit like we saw some of our current squad doing under the previous manager, in my opinion. But Big Amo took it on the chin, mate, the captaincy thing, didn't he? And was just, consistent, like you say, mate, the whole way through. So fair play to the big man. For me, he's an absolute, a guy that I grew up watching and enjoyed watching. And some of you were saying, I should maybe take a wee leaf at his book, because I thought he's a guy you would learn a lot off of. The next one, probably going to divide opinion, guys, because obviously the word legend, it's not a word you want to hand out to too many players, guys, is it? Bruno Alves. My opinion, Bruno Alves had a great career with Porto, Parma. Very decorated when it comes to winning medals. Had a good career with Portugal national squad. But the only thing I can remember him for, guys, is when they put airtime playing was the goal he scored against Hibs. That's the only thing I can remember him really fondly for. I don't think he was finished. He was 37 when we signed him. I think 37 when we signed him. I think he was finished. I think it was a silly move to waste money. He would have been on small wages. I don't imagine. But it's that title, as you touched on earlier on, Southside legend. Southside.
Aye, big Bruno. Listen, it was Pedro's thing, mate. I think he assured the board at the time he could bring a Portuguese captain or former captain to the club and all that, and he said he gave assurance he'd bring this type of player and that type of player, and Bruno Alves turned up, remembered for the free kick against Hibs at Easter Road, but apart from that, did very little. Surprised to see him turn up at Ibrox, to be honest, but aye, probably down to Pedro Caixinha, he ended up at Ibrox, otherwise he wouldn't have been anywhere near us, to be honest.
Jaffa?
I think Big Bruno epitomises, what a lot of players, seasons pros and guys that have had decorated careers throughout their, when they get into their 30s, like he did, played at World Cups and European Championships, and I don't know how many caps he had for Portugal, probably a lot, huge numbers. Clearly an absolute top-end defender of his time. But like a lot of players that think they're winding down their careers, they'll just go to Scotland and they'll finish their career and they'll play a season or two there and they'll pick up a decent salary. Scotland's not like that. You can't do that here. It's not like that because because of the opposition teams and the way they play and the physicality of it. They can't do that in the rough and tumble of the league and the kick and rush football that most of the teams play. And that's why it wasn't successful. Partly also down to the other signings that were in the team, but it was never going to work because he was at the wrong end of his career. But I mean, as the guy was he a top end player? Absolutely, he was a brilliant player of his day, as you say, when he played at Parma and when he played in Portugal before he got his big moves into Europe. He was I can't remember if it was Benfica or Porto he played for, but I remember he was an absolute brilliant player. But when we got him at 37, he was, he was done. The guy was finished. Particularly in Scotland, he didn't. His body couldn't cope with it, and he was never going to cope with it. But nice to see him back. It's good to see him back at Rangers. That's for sure.
All right, put another wee call out for callers, guys. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
I take it be soaps are all still on, guys, eh? They're all sitting watching their Coronation Street and EastEnders and Brookside and all that, whatever the things are called now. I don't know, I don't watch them, so must be sitting watching their soaps.
Last of the Summer Wine's still on as well.
It's not that. I know they've probably got an opportunity. We're in the international break, and I know we get listeners to listen in and we're talking about the legends, but if you really want to phone in and ask even Jaffa a question or Port Bear, maybe your first Rangers game or anything like that, something different for a change as we're going through the team then, why no?
Certainly, because we're going through the team now and I'm looking, and the next player coming on, you know, obviously the Graham's where my Rangers sort of career really kicks in, guys, is the sort of Graham Souness when he came in. I was born in '77, so the Souness era, I just missed the previous sort of dark where we were in a bad place. So all I got to grow up with was success, 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 success. That's all I got to see. And the next guy, Barry Ferguson, a guy that lived the dream, was at Rangers as a boy. His family was at Rangers and became Rangers captain, won a lot of silverware. And in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in British football. And I mean, this guy could have, if he'd have went to England earlier, I have no doubt he could have played in any of the top 6 sides, guys. That's how highly I rated Barry Ferguson. Southside.
Barry, what can I say? Marmite sometimes, I think, to some of the support now because of what you may be seeing, reading the papers. But Barry Ferguson, for me, was a wonderful player. He epitomises everything I want as a player at my club. I want him to drive the team on. I want him to monitor players. I want him to demand the best. I want him to be unhappy when the results are not going the way. He gets the club. And for me, he could take a game and try and dominate it and dominate games. The game at Hampden against them, when he scores the free kick, he gets us back into that game that day and drives the team to victory. Plenty of honours as a Rangers captain and player. Came in as a young player, into mixing with Arthur Newmans and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and that. And he didn't really get his real chance until Dick Advocaat came in. Walter had sort of had him in and out slightly and thought about it more, but Advocaat put him right into the team. And the boy he just oozed class, you know. He didn't look out of place. He always demanded the ball. And for me, poor Barry Ferguson was a great player, tremendous player for Glasgow Rangers. Unfortunately, he left and went down to Blackburn because I think the club needed the money. He did admit that, and he left for the club. And he said after 3 months he wished he was back up the road, and he came back up the road. But international player as well, played for his country. It's a boy's dream, isn't it? If you're Scottish and you're a Rangers supporter, the first thing you want to do is go and play for Glasgow Rangers, and you've watched family members do it. And then obviously his dream would have been to play for and captain his country, which he done. So for me, Barry Ferguson is up there as one of the best Rangers midfielders I've seen in a long time.
Jaffa?
Oh, I echo every word of that, Port. I mean, Barry was just Barry was everything you wanted in a Rangers player. I mean, if you could draw a Rangers player, that would be Barry Ferguson, probably. He would definitely be there. I mean, he was red, white and blue, you know, Hamilton boy for Edelwood. His big brother had played for us. All Rangers daft. His dad was a Rangers fan. Barry was an unbelievable footballer, and on top of all that, I mean that only gets you to the entrance gate, you know, with that background. But then you need to go and do it, and Barry did it, and he did it in some style, cultured. What a wonderful footballer he was! What a wonderful footballer! He had that late run on him. He had drive. He had everything. He had ability. He loved a tackle. He was fit. Unlike Derek, his health was really good because he didn't pick up any bad injuries, and he was just he was a brilliant Rangers captain and a true legend in my eyes. That's a Rangers legend, Barry Ferguson. He has everything, every medal. You know, it could be argued, and I agree with this. The one statement you said there, Port. See Barry Ferguson, if he's playing nowadays, man alive. Every team in Europe, you know, every team in England would be wanting to sign Barry Ferguson. But he was a homeboy. He was a homebird. And so was his brother. And they didn't want to move for Rangers because they were Rangers daft. And like Southside said, I don't think he ever wanted to move to Blackburn. He wasn't happy down there, as I understand it, and wanted up the road. Which, incidentally, probably, and just slightly off at a tangent here, makes it even more a big decision that Derek's young boy, Lewis, is now playing in Bologna, because I think that's been an encouragement from the two of them, for the two of them to say, go and experience stuff. I mean, he's doing very well, Lewis. He's doing great at Bologna. Rangers daft. He was in Seville. You know, probably a lot of the Rangers fans have seen him. About, you know, Lewis is a Rangers man through and through, just like his dad and his uncle. But the Fergusons are. Barry was an unbelievable player, unbelievable footballer for Rangers, and he just top class.
The night it came to the fore for me, guys, I don't know if there's a game that sticks in your heads, but the night it came, you know, when I noticed the boy becoming a man, was the night against Bayern Munich when he was playing against Lothar Matthäus, who's like world class, royalty of football, and he absolutely schooled. All right, Lothar Matthäus was a bit older then, but at the time he still had a pedigree in European football with Bayern Munich of greatness. And Barry Ferguson made him absolutely schooled Lothar Matthäus that night, guys. He absolutely schooled him. And that wasn't the only time I saw him doing it. I saw him doing it several times, but that particular night against Bayern Munich, he schooled Lothar Matthäus. Is there any particular game, guys, that you can think on where you thought, God, this boy's above and beyond, you know, and especially when it's in the academy? Is there any game that sticks in your head that you thought, wow, man alive, this boy's something special?
The cup final one I'm talking about, I can't remember the date. The one when he scores the free kick for the edge of the box. He drove us forward that day. Barry, it's hard to pick out certain games. The game against, was it Stuttgart away? The European game. He was outstanding. But Barry just had that determination and desire, and I just wish we had somebody like him in that squad now, because he wouldn't have put up with some of the performances that squad's put in, and he wouldn't have put up with the slackness and all that that's been at our club over the last wee while. You know, players like that just wouldn't have stood for it. Sometimes people think he's bigger than his boots and all that, but he just knew that he drove the standards at Glasgow Rangers, and that's the thing. That's what we needed. But going back to your games, Port, the thing was he scored a lot of goals for us as well for midfield. I think when Barry was slightly younger, he drove more Jaffa into the box and get deeper into the box. I think after a wee while and maybe a couple of injuries, he sat maybe deeper into our midfield, Port. I don't know if you agree.
Aye, he did. He certainly did. He was one that used to break lines and go beyond the striker, make that late run. I think Jaffa touched on that, make that late run into the box, you know, which you can't train that. That's just, you know, we talked about it with Arfield at times. He had that ability to ghost into the box and get important goals at important times and link up with attackers. Same question to yourself, Jaffa. Any game in your mind that stood out that you thought this guy's special?
Oh, that cup final game, like Southside touched on there, was unbelievable. That was a Barry Ferguson. I mean, Barry Ferguson, he absolutely grabbed that game with the scruff of the neck. He won that single-handedly. He won that final that day. It was brilliant. And the game that you touched on, the game against Bayern Munich with Lothar Matthäus, as I understand it, Lothar Matthäus actually asked after the game, and that's true. This is a fact. Who is that young boy? He was because he was schooled. Barry Ferguson absolutely ripped him apart that night in midfield. The guy didn't know where to go. He couldn't keep up with him. And as I understand it, Lothar Matthäus actually went into made inquiries after the game to find out who the young lad was, and because he never heard of him. So and that, as you rightly say, Lothar Matthäus was at the top end of his game. Okay, and he was old, but he was still a hell of a fit guy. And he was captain in Bayern Munich, and that was no mean feat at the time. But they were the two games for me that I remember. I mean, there was tons of Barry Ferguson games, tons of games where he was just a brilliant captain, wasn't he? He was a proper Rangers captain. And as I said, the best way I can describe it is, if you to draw a Rangers captain, it would probably have part of Barry Ferguson in it. John Gregg, a bit of that in it. Sandy Jardine, a bit of that in it. Real proper, like, Rangers legends that absolutely, as I said, it's one bit of your career is getting there. Like a lot of players nowadays, they get the big fat contract and they think they've made it. But the reality is that's just the beginning, because you've then got to go and do it. And to go and do it, takes even more determination and ability, and you've got to take your game to a different level. Barry Ferguson just got better and better at the peak point of his career. I'm talking about in his 20s when he burst onto the scene, and then when he went into his mid-20s, then when he got to his late 20s, he got better and better. He became a better and more cultured footballer. And incidentally, he was cultured in every sense of the word. He had a brilliant foot on him. He could nail a pass, weighted right on. I mean, anybody who played with Barry will tell you how brilliant a footballer he was. And he was just top class.
Port.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, right? Can I just read out this message because the technical team are wanting us to read this out, if you don't mind. It's today something's at the bottom of their Facebook page that's on the stream. They're asking for you to 200 stars to pin your comments. This has got nothing to do at all. I think you have to pay money, Port, and this has got nothing to do with Rangers Radio. So please don't send any money to Facebook if they're asking you to pin comments for stars. We don't get any money from it. We don't take any money. Everything's totally free that we do. So we don't know why it's on there, but just to let everybody know that please don't send any money.
Yep, echo those comments. As we always non-profit. This is we us guys do this for all of the Rangers. I've nothing better than sitting with my muckers and sitting talking about my club. That's what it's about, guys. Yeah.
Well, I believe they're going to Facebook and I've asked them to remove it, Port. So it's just to let everybody know that it's certainly nothing to do with Rangers Radio, and hopefully it'll get removed.
I think we've been joined by Alec Kelly. How you doing, Alec?
Good evening, Port Bear. Jaffa and Southside. How we doing, boys?
Hi, Alec. How you doing, mate?
How you doing, big man?
Good. Very good. Listen, I know the topic of discussion tonight's about the Legends game at the weekend, but if you don't mind, can I change tact a wee bit on it? I'm concerned about the future of the Rangers, to be honest with you, just the same as everybody. And my main focal point is what's the strategy going forward? Ross Wilson, obviously, I've been consistent on him for a wee while. I've actually got a list, his full list of players, if you don't mind me running through, who he signed. And, I've got a list here of 26 players. Hadji, Kamberi, McLaughlin, Bassey, Balogun, Itten, Roof, Zungu, Wright, Simpson, Ofaboa, Lundstrom, Sakala, Bakuna, Sands, Suter, Diallo, Ramsey, Cholak, Lawrence, Matondo, Tillman, Davies, Redvan, Cantwell and Raskin. Now, out of the 26 players, 11 have already left the club. The only one you could consider a pretty successful acquisition is obviously Calvin Bassey, because he went for the big money. But I'm more concerned about the wage structure. The wages have increased 13 million in the last 3 years to 37 million for 24. Our full club wage is 55 million. So we're paying 18 million to the rest of the club. That includes obviously B squad, ladies team and all the other coaching staff and everybody to do with the club basically. But 18 million. I just don't know the strategy going forward. I mean, Ross Wilson came in there and he told us the player trading model he had in mind, buying cheap, young boys, and obviously selling big. Now, that's happened obviously with Bassey, young Patterson and Aribo. But Aribo came in with Mark Allen. Patterson was already there, sure, youth squad. And Bassey, for me, I think Gerrard actually picked him out in a closed doors game during COVID with Leicester at Ibrox. So I wouldn't give credit to Ross Wilson for that either. Just where are we going in the future? I mean, we're talking about legends of the past, and there are a lot of legends there. But it's future, it's now, and where are we going forward? Your thoughts, guys?
Southside, do you want to take it first, mate?
I'll batter in. No, Alec, I agree with you. If you take Raskin and Cantwell out the new right, we could take them out of there, because at the end of the day, they're just in the door. They look positive, but to make a judgment, we can make probably a better judgment on the rest of them. I'm trying to flick back. I'd say Hadji, Alex, I would put Hadji down to a success. I know he's had the injury, we've not seen him for a year, but I think up to what he was doing at the time and playing out of position, and I think possibly going forward we might see a bit of him and then he might move on in time, because I think we'll always get an offer for Hadji. So I'd say he's a success. Canberry and McLaughlin, no. Bassey, I agree. He was seen at the training games and stuff with Bolton. He might look for credit for selling them for big money. Balogun, I would say, had been a success. Itten, no. Roof, for the time on the park, aye, but long term, no. Zungu, no. Scott Wright, no. And as you say, Oberfo's a different thing. The ones that concern me are probably, I'd say Tillman's a success, he'll get credit. Ben Davis is positive at the moment. And Tom Lawrence, I'd like to think he was showing promise. And Kolak's done what we wanted, somebody to score goals. Sans Bakuna, Diallo, Lundstrom, Sakala. Sakala's probably in a better range of form at the moment than he's ever been. If you watched him after the Queen of the South game at Ibrox under Gio, everybody thought he'd be out the door. So our new managers gave him a new lease of life, and he's doing quite well. Lundstrom, I'd still say question marks on him, Alex. So if I take the two out, what have I got? Maybe about 5, 6 players if I'm lucky. Ridvan, I think, might come positive, but I've maybe only got about maybe 5 out of that, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And is that considered good enough? I think you answered your own question.
It's not anywhere near good enough. The only thing he might say is, look, I was working to a budget and I was getting players like Bakuna and I was getting that. Cedric Itten cost close to £2 million. You know, Roof cost £4 or something million. Hadji cost a decent amount of money. Ben Davis and Yilmaz, he spent a decent amount of money. And then we have the conundrum that's Robbie Matondo.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the one that we either need to get him on the park at some point to see if Michael Beale can give him a role in the team, tell him what's needed, show him what's required, and expect him to do it. And if no, then we're going to need to look to get money back for him, and if it'll either come at a loss, because I think shifting him for $3 million unless somebody in Belgium want him back. So in his time, Alex, I agree. Ross Wilson, for me, this is his last transfer window.
I've got to agree to an extent, Alex. I think that there's certainly been a lot more misses than there has been hits. Totally agree with it 100%. But I think when you're shopping at the level we're shopping, we're not buying a finished article, Alex. We're going out and trying to. It's always like a gamble, mate. We're going out and buying cheap, buying young, with a hope of developing players. And so far, the only managers that I've seen developing anybody is my current manager. It's the only manager that I've seen anybody with real improvement under, apart from Bassey, where I thought Gio really brought him on even further than what Gerrard did. I think we're not shopping at Harrods anymore, Alec. Let's be honest, we're not shopping at anywhere.
Yep.
We're shopping in the bargain basement where every signing, mate, unfortunately, is a risk. So I think Ross Wilson, like Southside touched on, has got a budget. He's got a scouting team that go and look at players. And I think, it's all my opinion, mate, I think every player you sign, you're signing, potential. And it's like a 50-50 flick whether they make it or not. Now, unfortunately, we've not had a chance to see a lot of the players because of injuries, Ridvan, etc. Ones that we saw some wee bits and bobs on, we get excited about. Hadji, when I first saw him, my thoughts on Hadji. I still think Hadji's going to be a fantastic player, and I still think we'll make a lot of money off Hadji. But I understand totally what you're saying, mate, and I agree with Southside. This next transfer window, this big summer transfer window, now effectively we're going to lose 8. We could lose 8 players on free transfers, basically. Contracts are done. So that's a big saving in wages alone, Alex. So we've managed to claw that money back.
Yeah.
But it's how we use it wisely.
No, listen, Port Bear, I get what you're saying, but we're not exactly spending washers on players either. I mean, Southside just gave you a list of players there, but you're talking in excess of at least 10 million. I mean, that sort of spendage, that suggests that the board are doing their job. I've been critical of the board, but I've got to give credit. to them for raising the funds, for our managers in the first place. But what my main gripe is, and I think the Union Bears' main gripe is now, we've not been spending it wisely. Our spine of the team there for that last cup final was still the crux of Steven Gerrard's squad, Steven Gerrard's team 4 years ago. And we're still using these guys. These guys are getting older, their bodies are breaking down, but they're far more reliant on the guys that Ross Wilson's bringing in. So I don't think we need a director of football in the first place. I don't think it works at our club. I think you've got to give the reins to the manager to pick his own players, to go and do their due diligence on them, their character. They've got to show the right character to play for our club, because it's all right bringing in certain players where you're saying, right, okay, he can give us that sort of strength to the team. But what if he freezes in the big occasion, as many of these guys have done? And that's a big crux of the matter of why we've not been successful in the last 7 years. I mean, we're back in the Premier League now, guys, 7 years, and we've only won 2 trophies. Celtic have picked up 16. That's not good enough. That's unacceptable. So somebody's got to be held accountable, and that's where the problem that I've got. But what's your thoughts, Jaffa? Have you got a new caller in there now? Portbear, you've not noticed?
Alec, I think whilst I agree with your point, whilst I agree with your point, you're concerned, with the way the club is. I think the way the club is on the football part and the way the club is off the pitch, obviously we know they're two different things. The performance of the club off the park has been pretty decent, for where we've got to and where we've come from. Getting to the player side of it, which is the bit that we're all more interested in, and the bit that we all pay our money and go to see the games and season tickets and all the rest of it, week in, week out. I agree, in essence, with a lot of the signings that you've just rhymed off. You can't argue with them. Some of them have been atrocious, Alec. But what I would say, just to break your point down a wee bit further, you're saying your gripes with Ross Wilson. As I understand it, Alec, Ross Wilson isn't the sporting director. His actual title, his title is sporting director. He's not director of football. Two different things. We don't have a director of football. It's the managers that are signing the players, Alec. Steven Gerrard has told you it was him who picked the players. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has told you it was him who picked the players. Ross Wilson goes and signs them, yeah. He negotiates the money. But in essence, the managers pick the players. Michael Beale has already stated, I think on 2 or 3 occasions already, in only a few months, it's him who will pick the players. He's out in the press in the last 24 hours telling you he's identified 5 players and he's told the club to go and look at them. So it's the managers that's signing the players, Alec. It's not Ross Wilson. Ross Wilson's only essentially doing part of what he's told. I mean, Ross Wilson, as I understand it, is the sporting director. He runs the whole. Every member of staff at Auchenhowie reports to Ross Wilson through the management channels, whether they're in the girls' team, the ladies' team, or whether they're in the B team. They report to their manager, and then he deals with all the contracts for all the staff. He looks after the whole of the footballing side. That's his job. And part of that is to go and negotiate. And the other part of his job is when a manager changes. This is where you potentially could have a very valid point, Alec, on who's picking the managers. Because Ross Wilson's part of that election team, or selection team. It's him, Stuart Robertson, and probably the board of directors who are picking the managers. He's going out and finding who's available. Then he's reporting back and saying, here's the 3 or 4 managers that are on the market that are interested in coming. I've sounded them out. This one's going to cost Y. That one's going to cost X. So, as I understand it, that's why Ross Wilson was parading Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, because it was him who essentially went out and got him and found him and brought him to the club. But it was upon the board's suggestion. But as far as the playing staff goes,
Folks are big on nuts here. No, I get that, Jaffa. I get that. Time for your tune, though.
We're going to go to our tune, and we're going to bring in Blue Star and his thoughts on Alec's comments.
Rangers, easy, okay. Look out, everyone, we're on our way. okay. Won't you come and cheer us? Help the boys along. White and blue, coming through with a song. Oh, Rangers, Rangers, easy okay. Look out everyone, we run away. Football is the game that we play all over the world. Rangers, Rangers, easy okay. Look out everyone, we run away. We can show the world how to play, for we are Rangers, okay. We'll be there to do it, do it if we can. Win the cup, hold it up in our hand. Oh, Rangers, Rangers, easy okay. Look out everyone, we run away. Football is the game that we play all over the world. Rangers, Rangers, easy okay. Look out everyone, we run away. We can show the world how to play, for we are Rangers, okay.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Welcome back, troops. Back after we dance there, sit down and strap in. We're about to hear for Blue Star. How you doing, Blue Star?
Yeah, my strap on.
Evening, Southside Port, Jaffa and
Hi, Blue Star.
Alex.
How you doing, Blue
Good
Star?
evening, Paul.
I originally came on to talk about the best player you have mentioned so far, and that was Barry. In my time, I was lucky enough to see DJ, the tail end of Baxter, etc. But in our lifetime, and probably for all of us that are on the night, Barry epitomised everything that was about Rangers. Great captain, brilliant player, not just good, but brilliant. And the one game, certainly it wasn't in that Rangers shirt, but it was for Scotland. When he played against England at Wembley, he was up against Stevie G, Lampard, etc. in the midfield, and he got man of the match. He totally ran amok that day. But on the other side there, touching on what Alex just said, and he made a perfectly great point. None of us can argue the fact. The players that have been brought in, and Jaffa, I would take Thingy with you there when you're talking about Ross Wilson. Our manager didn't say what you said. Our manager came out 3 pressers ago and said exactly, Ross and the board had their list of players, and I've got mine. So he does make players, and incidentally, he didn't. Stevie G and Gio didn't bring their players in. We all know that. When they turn around and they say, I picked the players, they picked the players that were there to put in the team, yes, but they didn't identify those players that were brought in. Some of them, yes, most of them, no. Our present managers has already said that, as I've just said. They've got their list of players and I've got mine. And now he's out getting his sound bites about he's earmarked 5 players, which he probably has. But the worrying thing for me is when he comes around and he says he uses the 2 guys that he brought in January, Raskin and Cantwell, and he says, look, we don't need to spend big money. We can get plenty of players in, out of contract, etc., etc. Guys, he took that job on, knowing exactly what happened to Gio. He must have had assurances, or so we thought, that he had a reasonable budget. My worry now is the sound bites he's coming out with, and forgive me guys if I'm sounding a bit louder, but both my ears have went today, I don't know what it is. I'm worried, I'm a bit like Alex. If we don't have proper financial backing there with our manager, we know that making any sign is a gamble, but you certainly have a better chance when you're bringing in forthright players that are in the middle of their careers and playing well at their clubs. If we're getting guys that are out of contract, which is all very well, you can get good ones in. But this next transfer window isn't just any normal transfer window for us. This is absolutely probably the most important that we'll ever have, because they're only a couple of trophies away from our world record. And if we don't start picking up, i.e. against them, as I've said in previous night shows, it's one thing beating Hearts and Hibs when Hibs are 50 points behind. That's nothing great for me. And whilst the manager can only work with what he's got, when we keep telling ourselves, oh, we're doing great for where we came from, that's the past, guys. All that matters now is the future and the present. The present and the future. We have to get a team on that park that's capable of beating that other mob. And at the moment, I don't care what anybody says. My opinion, and that's what we're on talking about, my opinion is they're far, far better than us. So this next recruitment, i.e. come the summer, is absolutely monumental to our history, to our future. And our present manager, I think, by his sound bites, is telling us straight. He's hitting the press and he's trying to tell the fans, I've earmarked a minimum of 5. It's up to the board to go and get them. Because when he came out 2 presses ago and he said that Ross's guys list of players, but I've got my list. That tells me everything. And Alex, 100% right in saying what he's saying. Ross Wilson has been making assignments, not with our manager. He's been bringing players in, probably being earmarked for certain positions, but our manager certainly weren't picking them. A good manager must pick his own players. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You take a job on like Glasgow Rangers, you've got to be in charge of that team you put on that park. Nobody else picks your players. You pick them and you make sure that they come in. What's your thoughts?
Well, stop. When Michael Beale signed Todd Cantwell and Raskin, he told us on the presser that it was over a 3-week period, a 4-week period, before they were announced, before they started, mentioning names. He told us all time and time again he'd been at several meetings with 2 players, 2 specific players. In fact, there's another one mentioned as well, the boy for Everton. But he told us all that he sat down, looked into their eyes, spoke to them, seen what made them tick, made sure that they were the players that he knew could take Rangers further, hungry, to fit the mould, the philosophy, the shape that he wanted to, build. He told us that. So, in my opinion, what Michael Beale's told us, mate, I believe they're his players. I don't think Ross Wilson, at the end of the day, maybe Ross Wilson, like you said, had a list. But I think, it's only my opinion, mate, them 2 players are off Michael Beale's list. Jaffa, can I take it to you,
I've just said that. The 2 that he brought in January, we know for a fact were Beale's signings. I'm not arguing the point. But the one thing that is still going on to a lot of fans, when we were told when we were looking for the manager, the press, etc., everybody seemed to think Sean Dyche was in the frame. Sean Dyche has come out numerous times since and told you straight there was no discussions whatsoever with Glasgow Rangers. And I've still heard people saying Sean Dyche was in the frame that Ross Wilson spoke to him. Ross Wilson didn't speak to him. So in my opinion, it's only an opinion, that's what we're all talking about. Yeah. My opinion was Michael Beale was number 1 contender right from the very beginning because, as I say, Ross Wilson did not speak to Sean Dyche. So you're looking at all these things that are coming out. I read between the lines, and as I say, you can look at it with our manager sometimes, and we've all said that sometimes you think he's maybe saying a bit too much to the press. The reason I believe he's doing that, he listens to the forums just the same as every other player does, etc. And he knows the one thing that the fans have kept saying for the last number of years, that the board weren't in connection with the fans and they weren't telling them enough. So Michael Beale's come in and tried to strike a happy medium by trying to tell us what we're doing, trying to go forward. As I say, the worrying thing for me is there's no dubiety about it. 2 pressers ago, if you listen back, it says Ross and the board have got their list and I've got mine. So that's a conflict of interest straight away. That's no good for our manager. That's no good for us as fans, and that's no good for our club. Our manager must pick the players that come into the club. Nobody else does that business. Somebody else might sit down and agree the contracts, but it has to be only one man that picks the players, and that's your manager. So Ross Wilson has indeed been picking some of the players. There's no argument about it. He definitely has.
What ones? What ones?
Raskin and Cantwell were under Beale, no doubt about it. That's who Beale wanted to come in.
Hold on a wee second, right? I think Davey's sitting patiently in the wings here, Port. I think you're there, Davey, are you, pal? No, he was there. Maybe he's just been caught. I think Davey's due to come in, Port. Can I just say something, right, as well as you're talking there? I agree. I said once we won that league 55 under Steven Gerrard, for me that was us back, right? It was where we should have been. We got the league title. Since then, we've no kicked on, right? That's a fact. The players that we have signed haven't been good enough. I know when I was at the AGM, the question got asked and Gio said, I bring in players that I agree to them, right? Whether it's right or no, we'll never know, right? But that's what we can only take when you're at an AGM and he's asked the question. The players that he's brought in haven't performed and haven't been good enough. It's not the way it should be. Connor Golson and Tav, for me, will not even see 4 years. They should be moved on. Next season should probably be their last season, looking at them under next season going forward. I think hopefully Zakowski comes back and pushes them. I think there's other players out there that are all going to move, but we need to get the players. And it's all right saying we get projects and that. We don't really want projects. We want players like the age of Kolak and like probably the age of even Tom Lawrence. A couple of them you'll need. You want proven players that have been in the game and know what it's about. And you can maybe take a gamble on a 22, 23-year-old and stuff like that. But we need to get it right and we need to be winning. And I think you might be right, Blue Star, saying about I've got my list and he's got his list. At the end of the day, Ross Wilson's, if you look at his list that we've looked at earlier under what Alex said, I've picked 5 players if I'm lucky, and I'm giving Ridvan time to get there and maybe one other. Lundstrom's, the jury's out for me with him. He's another one I would get rid of. You can make space and bring somebody in. So it's not good enough. It needs to get a lot better. And Michael Beale knows that, and I'm willing to give him the chance. He's getting the results on the park with this squad that couldn't get results, and some that chucked it. So now there's no chucking it. It's all steam ahead to the end of this season and definitely next season. And that's the most important thing. Port, you want to see if all Davies there, mate?
I'm here.
Davey here. How you doing?
You there, Davey?
I'm here.
Hi, Davey.
All right,
Sorry,
pal.
I heard you first time. I don't know what I'm. Aye, good evening, boys. Southside, Jaffa, Port Mayor, Alec, Blue Star. Great point. Great points, but I think we need to take a wee step back, guys, when we're talking about what you want and what you get. You don't always get what you wish for. And unfortunately, we would like what you're talking about and acquiring this, but that doesn't just happen when you've not got the dough. So we've got to get the finance in, and then you can start talking about the quality of players. At the moment, I think it was Port was talking about, you're buying at the level that you can afford, and for us, we can't see that working, because what we're getting for the cash isn't happening. But if you look here at the Mankey mob, what they've bought, there's not a lot in it. So it's down to who you're bringing in. You know, and I think they've got to get that sorted. I mean, that's scouting. But, I know what he's all saying, but it comes down to a finance situation as well, guys.
There'll be money there, Davey. I believe the board will put roughly, this is my own opinion, right? I think there'll be at least 12 million put into that squad. That's my true belief. While we're talking about that, David, I'd just like to say to you, we got a very generous offer in from somebody who wants to remain anonymous. And as you know, that your birthday's coming up and that come January and stuff, but they actually just says they'd like to donate 2 tickets. And if you come on the show, would you happily accept 2 tickets for tomorrow night to the Do to see Mark Catley, Derek Johnston and Gordon Smith?
That's very, very kind. I've been at my uncle to try and get that for a wee while. Did he phone you up?
Well, the person put it forward for you, mate, and it's good that
That's
you've come on tonight.
I'm honoured, totally amazed, proud and privileged. Yes, that would be utterly fantastic. I would get in there with pride. Yes, that's fantastic.
Right, okay,
And it'd be great to get the faces, you know.
Aye, well,
I'll get that suit out, Davy.
Davy, you don't want to see some of them.
Just watch out for a good-looking old guy.
Fox is already there.
Aye. Aye, no, that's amazing. Amazing. You've just made an old guy happy. I'm always happy when I'm on this show anyway. It's a great show in town. But regarding the conversation was there, I think when we're saying we're going to talk in like 12 million quid, I mean, the days that we can get in here and get a £12 million player, I know you're not meaning that as on the one player, but that's where we're sort of falling short when we're going for 3 million and 4 million and whatever. It's just not been working for us. So what do? Where's the extra cash? If we want to up the ante and say, like, we'll get him, he's 8 million, 9 million, we can't go to that limit, I don't think.
I think you'll find the board will put an investment in. We're going to get rid of players. We're going to save in a wage bill. I think they know that we need to put a decent amount in. We've got Europe to qualify and we've got a league title to win, and also try and add other trophies that we've all been shouting about that we need to get back to winning. So at the end of the day, there will be an investment into the club. I believe we will put a significant in, and it will include wages as well. There will be £6 and £7 million signings. Possibly no, but when you add the wage, you've got to factor in wages into this. What we've got to pay players as well in a 4-year contract, you know. But there will be, I believe, there'll be a significant amount of income that will go in, and I think it'll be enough for Michael Beale to move forward.
I think we'll be jobbing a caller, Thunder from down under. Yeah, big man, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. Davy's uncle was phoning you, so is he phoning you from beyond the grave? he's got the Ouija board out and all that.
That was my illegitimate uncle.
Aye.
You hope they're going to fly you out, big owl.
It's Mako. Aye, fly me out. Aye, that'll do. No, look, I don't often agree with the Rocket, but I'm on the Rocket side tonight, man. I mean, really, our signing policy has been atrocious. We sign players that really aren't fit for purpose. We shop in that bargain basement. That we can't be shopping there. I put it all down to the board personally myself, and I'm glad there's some rumblings now with regards to the board, because I think it's the board is it's made up of like the committee, I think, isn't it? I mean, there's drips and drabs coming in for left, right, centre. If the board can't properly finance for us to move forward, they have to step aside, or they have to then start looking for proper finance. When we say proper finance, 12 million quid's no good. We need 20, 30 million quid. We need to start winning league titles, and then it'll generate funds itself on the back of that. But this just going into the biscuit tin and handing out a few million here, there, and everywhere, it's not working. It quite clearly isn't working. And I think Bailey Self, I mean, he was talking only a few weeks ago about having a total clear out, but now he's talking about 5 players. I was expecting 12 players, 15 players. Now we're going to stick with the players. He's been on here for the past few weeks talking up players and all that. The players that are on that park aren't they going to take us to the next level? That was a buzzword a season ago, 2 seasons ago. Are they players that we bring in take us to the next level? They're quite clearly can take us to the next level. And that's including Connor Golson, that's including James Tavernier. They're not taking us to the next level. The next level for us is to consistently win league titles and be a dominant force. The drips and drabs of money that come in aren't going to do that. The board, I don't think, have got the ambition to take us forward that way. The manager, I think, is backtracking on something like 5 players. 5 players are not any good to us. I want a tight-knit squad. That's all paying lip service. It's all paying lip service. So I don't know how to fix it. I would be starting the board have to look for proper finances. Your man, who's the finance guy, is getting all the sponsors, man. Much money we're actually getting for these sponsors. We've got like about 14 associated partners. But how much does an associated partner actually put into the club? I've done a wee bit of research on that. This is approximately about 50 grand. It's just the name thing, the title, the name association that really the club and the associated partner. So that's no money. That's no money. 50 grand. What's 50 grand going to buy you? It might buy you a second class player in the Dundee. We need proper finance, and the board's had plenty of chances. We've been there long enough, and all the guys have been there long enough. We need to look. We need to take the next step. It's just simple as that.
I agree.
That's my view.
Jaffa, when you go, Jaffa.
Oh, how are you, gravy boy?
How we doing, mate? Still on the Bristol, brother. Still on the Bristol.
Good on you.
Jaffa.
Good on you.
What do you think of Big Al Stotts, mate? Do you see, there's difficulties for the funding? Do we need an injection of cash for?
I think the board will always take cash, Port, wherever they can get it. But I mean, it's finding that cash, isn't it? That's the big dilemma. It's getting investors in, or Dave King wants to sell his shares, so. If somebody wanted to make a takeover bid for the club, if I was them, I would be buying Dave King shares and starting for that position. But getting any investment into the club, the people are always looking for a return. So to get 20 million or 30 million into your club, I personally don't think that type of investor's out there right now. I don't think you'll get somebody to put 30 million in.
Correct.
I just need to hop off, boys. But it's a wonderful show. It's a top class panel tonight, so you look after yourselves, all right? And I'll keep my eyes peeled for a billionaire.
Cheers, big man.
Is that you, Southside? Is that you, Southside, with the smug? Is that you? Is it?
Aye, it's me, buddy.
Just
aye.
a picture, Jay. Good on you,
No, that's me. That's a rocket. That's me. That's a rocket, Big Al.
So you and Southside look the same?
No, Pierre, don't be like that.
I hope no, man.
Come on.
I hope no. Right, take care, boys.
Right, man, good to hear you as always.
Hey, Al.
No offence, Alex, but, hi, Blue Star.
Saying there. Tell me this, guys. See the soft loans, right? Say there's 4 major guys on the board putting in 5, 6, anything up to 10 million a piece to keep the lights on, right? If it comes to the lights of the bit for come the close season, we know that we need investment. If they're putting in an extra 5 million each, and I know I'm only using figures, I get that, but surely to goodness, if it says, say for talking sake, it's 20 million they've got to put in to keep the lights on and keep the place running. We all get that. Surely they can put in an extra so many million each. Yes, they take it back with their soft loans and they take it back with interest. If they get a successful team on the park, I've said it for day one, we all know the script. As soon as you get a winning team on that park, i.e. the strips, what we're getting for the strips is chicken feed for the strips that we're buying. Absolute chicken feed which can back to the club. That's number one. They need to get that sorted out. I can't understand for the life of me, and I know you are on the same boat. I look at Castor's website and I go to the Rangers store and I can go 1 week and pay £65, £69 for a tap. I come back and I look at Castor's site and they'll sell it £30 cheaper. The following week it's £30 cheaper at Rangers store and it's £30 dearer at Castor. Now that's no way of investment, none whatsoever. In this day and age, Rangers are a big enough club for the amount of merchandise that we sell. And incidentally, at the last count, we were selling more than any other club in Britain. And I'm quite sure that stands to reason with the amount of taps that we're bringing out. So it's not that the fans are not buying all the merchandise we are. So the return on that, the new is chicken feed, 25 million or 5 years, that's 5 million a year or whatever. That's chicken feed for a club our size for the amount of merchandise that's getting been bought and sold. So that in itself, along with everything else, we know that you can't put in 20 million every season into the playing staff. We get that. But surely every couple of seasons, there should be major investment. And by that, if we're talking about 15, 20, 25 million, the likes of the do, that's what we're needing. Let's not kid ourselves on. And we know, even
do we really
players,
bit Blue Star? Do we really think about it, right? I agree with what you're saying, right? We all have to fling money into the squad, right? We don't need to fling 40, 30, 20 million into to beat the Diddies in the SPL. We only need to match one team, right? Right.
I totally agree, but at the same time, Southside, you just mentioned it. See the actual wage bill. See for the players we've got in the park, we need to get away from this idea. And Big Al hit a nail on the head, and I know you're along that way of thinking. Guys like Goldson, Tav, etc., they've had their best time at Ibrox, despite what MD thinks. We need better players than that. That's the facts. And I know what you're saying about beating the rest of the dross. We all know that. But we've got to go a level above that again. We have to. We've got too many aging players that have shot their bolt. We need better. It's as simple as that. We need better, younger, fatter players in.
Oh. Right, Troops, they're going to have Southside Super 6. This guy's going to win you the... This guy's going to win you the... I'm telling you.
Here we go.
I'm going to see a bit of
Hi, welcome to Southside Super 6 for the 25th of March. My first selection this weekend is Alloa Athletic to beat Peterhead away from home. My second selection is Annan Athletic to beat Stranraer. My third selection is Exeter City to beat Accrington Stanley. My fourth selection is Carlisle to win away from home against Gillingham. The fifth selection is Grimsby to beat Walsall at home. And the last selection is Leyton Orient to beat Hartlepool away from home. If you take all 6 selections, it pays 41 to 1.
Well done, Southside. And from all Troops who are slagging my mugger, see if you don't want to listen to him. Do the exact opposite, like telling you. Alright, do the exact opposite.
Can I congratulate Southside? Can I congratulate Southside in his sponsorship with Ladbrokes? He's made them a fortune.
Well, you never know this week.
You never know. I think we'll be joined by a couple of callers. I think we're Rangers Radio Royalty. Bob's here. Are you in, mate? How you doing?
I'm there. How you doing, Biggie? All right?
I'm brand new, mate. Brand new.
I'm brand new.
What's your thoughts on tonight's discussion so far, mate?
Well, I've not heard that actually. I've been out. I'm just back in.
We'll be talking about obviously. I'll give you an overview. We'll be talking obviously the Rangers Legends game at the weekend. Some of the players, past and present, in regards to who's legends, and we were talking about Barry Ferguson, how good a player he was, etc., etc. But the latest part of the discussion is about how we take the team forward and how do we financially get there. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Oh well, that's a bugbear that we're maybe going to lose Morelos for nothing and Kent for nothing, and I don't know where that kind of leaves us financially. Let's face it, lads. We've discussed it today. I say we're blue in the face. That Rangers haven't got the finances to bolster a high expensive squad like they used to do. So we'll just have to get these people out. I don't know. Old school blue station there. I knew you were talking about getting rid of Wilson again. We'll need to get somebody that's going to recognise some young talent for to come into the club. Either that, we're going to have another barren season, if I can say that. I hope not, obviously, but I don't know. I don't care. It's hot in the air for me. I think we'll just have to wait and see who's gone out and who's going to come in, and then take it from there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sort of a loss for word, no loss for words at the moment, but it's all speculation. You just don't know who's going to go out and who's going to come in. But whoever comes in, I hope they can carry the mantle to put Rangers, to make Rangers successful again.
That's true, mate. And we'll be joined by Bobby. How you doing, Bobby?
Hi, no bad, mate. First of all,
all right, Rico.
Yeah, mate. First of all, I was enjoying the first part of the programme. I'm a bit light-hearted, talking about legends. Then, once again, the things come in about, I'm sick of that man's name, Wilson. He's like a lice in school pupils' head. You can't get rid of him. His name pops. It doesn't matter what programme he's talking about. His name comes up. And I'm sick of this man. Who is he? And what is he? And what does he do? He does nothing, but he likes his name getting published. And we're all falling into all that. But the first part of the programme was Legends for Rangers. And who he's got to Ferguson, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it went haywire. There's two of them, I would say, were Legends for Rangers, and other four, no.
Yeah, we can go back to that list if you'd like. It's up to yourselves.
Yeah, well, I don't want to keep on talking about what Wilson's doing, and I'm not interested in the man. Really, he's a leech. He's taking all our money. He's happy. He doesn't care if Rangers get beat. But to bring about a light-hearted into it, we're talking tonight about legends, not about Mr. Wilson. We're talking about the legends and who played for Rangers, but the legends, which I watched.
That's a fair point, Bobby. It's a fair point. But you know, obviously, when Alec come in and Blue Star come in, they've got opinions, and they've got worries about the future of the club. You know, and this is a Rangers platform where you can come in and get to discuss what's on your mind. That we were discussing the Legends part of it. You're right. You're 100% right. But we always encourage people to call in, and give us their opinion on what's hot on their mind at that moment. There's a lot of people talk about Union Bears. Obviously, Alec and Blue Star are worried about finances. There's other things I could throw into that. In regards to, how do we get more money? And the Castore sponsorship deal finishes next year. So does the 32 Red one. Is it time to get the Premier Sports sportswears like Nike and Adidas? Is it time to get them back in the club to try and put more money in? I'm not a financial expert. I don't know how these guys get the money into the club, but that's surely maybe we can look at getting, like, as I said, Nike sponsorship, better money. But in my opinion, Castore are building their brand very well, and anything I've bought for Castore has been absolutely outstanding. I can't complain about Castore at all. But that's only my take on it. But if you want to continue and talk about the Rangers legends, well, the next one was George Alberts. And I'll take that as Southside.
Big Albert's a hammer. The only thing I ever found strange about Big Alberts, he used to whack that ball for 25 yards and that, and when he about to take a penalty, he put the side foot on it, and he missed one or two. But Big George was brilliant for the Rangers. He understood it and all. He loved being here. He played with some great players, successful goal he scored against them at Parkhead. He went on the zigzag run just after the halfway line. He replicated the goal he scored at Ibrox. He done it up there at Parkhead. The same type of goal. Great big player. He liked to smoke the fags and all that, I believe, at half time and that. But aye, big man enjoyed his time at Glasgow Rangers, that's for sure. And like we keep saying, Alex, we're talking about this squad and we keep saying they're no decorated, they've no get medals and that. And the players we're talking about, some of them had shorter spells than others, but George Alberts wasn't short of league medals or cups in his time at Glasgow Rangers. Port.
Yeah, indeed, mate, indeed. and didn't come for big money either for Hamburg. Not in them days anyway. And a player that, again, in my opinion, was very underrated. I thought George Albert's a sensational player, mate. And obviously he had that cultured left peg. Jaffa, your thoughts on the Hammer?
Oh, I loved him, but I thought he was brilliant. I loved his accent as well, with the Glasgow twang in it. It was magic, wasn't it? He's great. He's brilliant, Big Alberts. He was a great Rangers player. He was of his time. There was nothing like him. And we all saw that goal that right behind the enclosure. I remember being in the enclosure that day. The free kick, he nearly took the net and the goals way into the Copeland. It was a belter. He scored some cracking goals. He loved it. He loved Rangers, and we loved him. Every one of us, I think every Rangers. I don't know a Rangers fan that didn't love George Alberts. He was absolutely outstanding. He was brilliant. Great player, great vision. Done some crazy things, and he just adopted Glasgow Rangers, and that's why he's back playing at the Legends at the weekend. He'll love being back round about Ibrox. I know, I can just see it in his eyes, and now when you see all the interviews with him, it's magic. But he was a brilliant player, top player of his day.
Alec Kelly named Blue Star.
As regard Alberts, fantastic player. Scored many great goals against them, and that's where it counts. But he had good players round about him, as we've all intimated. Barry Ferguson, and obviously I think it was Walter that signed him at the end of his tenure, and obviously came into Advocates era. But fantastic player, and the fact that he still comes back to Q&As and represents our club still in the manner that he does just shows you the affiliation that he had with the club and the supporters. So no, he is a proper legend. Obviously winning trophies underlines that. But listen, I'm going to dip out then, guys. It's been a pleasure speaking to you again, and as I say, have a great night Saturday night, and speak to you soon. Okay.
Cheers, Alex.
Thank you.
Cheers, Alex.
Cheers, Alex. Bye-bye.
Blue Star.
I think Albert George was a terrific player for us. I met him many's a time. He's very friendly with a big bear round the corner for me. Still get his house here. He was one of these guys. He came into our club and he took to our club straight away. He's Rangers daft now. As you say, he does plenty for the club, even here in Germany. He does loads. I know Southside and Big Steve will know all about that. A real stalwart for the club, and a terrific player. And he's one of these guys, when you meet him, the neck that he had on him, oh my, it was as big as your thigh. Big, strong workhorse, but boy, did he have a shot. And he was one of these guys, wasn't he? Even if they took the ball off our goalkeeper pole, he could run the whole length of the pitch, and you knew, and the opposing teams knew that if he got it on that left peg and he shot, it was just like an extra set missile. A great big player, terrific.
Old Davey.
Well, I think everyone's been covered there. It's guy is a legend. You can say that word legend with just a bit of, you don't look at it as, when me and Jimmy are talking about legends, we're going to be back to, which they didn't have in those days, like these type of games, the John Greggs and Jack Baxter and all these guys. But I'd like to say, one person I think who's really sadly missed for that kind of occasion is Paul Gascoigne. If he could have been fit and been lucky to be fit enough to play there, that's one guy who, to me, was a pure legend for Rangers, was Paul Gascoigne.
Bobby, Alberts, what's your thoughts, mate?
Oh, I loved him. I just loved the guy. I loved his shots, and that's one of the legends of Rangers. When you talk about legends, Alberts, Ferguson, maybe Amoruso, but the rest no. But Alberts, he was tremendous for us. Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah.
Port, see when you see the strikers list that's there that's going to be in there on Sunday for the game, and you see Rod Wallace, Chris Boyd, Shota Advaladze, Nika Yelovich, Jermaine Defoe. You know, when you look at them, I know there's also Johansson, Kenny Miller, Peter Lovenkrands, and Daniel Kuzan. But when you look at the first 3 or 4 that I named, you know, all scored goals, all won success at Rangers, big game players and big games against them, and missed their goals, as we said, Chris Boyd. And then you look at what we've seen when Jermaine Defoe came up here, Port, you know, that finish against Livingston when it was just out his shoulder and in one step he just side fits it into the net. A class act, you know. And then when you look at these strikers fondly, you wonder maybe in 5 or... I mean, Alfredo Morelos has been here a long time, right? And you wonder if he'll ever be classed or ever get asked back in time. I don't think he'd ever want to come back, to be honest. I don't think his nature of that. But you wonder if you look at him in time, when we think back when he leaves, and you look at the strikers I've just mentioned, you wonder how far do you put him up the category against any of them.
Aye, that's a good point, mate. The next one I'm going to go to is Pedro Mendes, who I thought was another Premiership star, in my opinion. Had a great career in England, and I remember when the signing was announced, I thought it was pretty cheap, and I thought, how did he pull this off? It seemed to come from anywhere, the Pedro signing, and obviously his goal against them for the corner, the thunderbolt in the bottom corner. You know, Pedro Mendes was an absolute baller, guys, in my opinion. Southside.
Aye, he was a good player. I just find it hard. I agree with like Bobby and some of the boys are obviously going to agree to no legends in my eyes, you know, but a great player and had a good time at Rangers, and any goal you score against him, the player will always be remembered. It's just a pity Gordon Jury didn't get fondly remembered in that way for never scoring against Celtic, but aye, he was a good addition, class midfielder, like you say, Port, and had his time at Rangers and done really well, you know, but legend, there's maybe only 2 or 3 maybe on the actual list for me that you could say, like Bobby agrees with, is a real legend.
It's a good news off for this one, right? Ronald De Boer, legend or not? Right, we'll start with Southside and just go around everybody. Yes or no? Ronald De Boer, legend, yes or no?
He's not a legend in my eyes, but he was a wonderful player.
Jaffa?
Same. Not at Rangers, but he was a cracking footballer, but not a legend in a blue shirt.
Bob Gia?
He was only here for his pension. That's in a nutshell.
Right.
Great footballer, but that was it. He was here for his pension.
Bobby?
Great player, but not a legend. Fantastic skill, but not a legend, no.
Davey?
No.
See, it's becoming a word, isn't it? That legend. It's a strong word to put out to a player. You know, a legend to me is a guy who's got a statue outside the stadium, John Gregg. That's a legend, isn't it? That, to me, that epitomises a legend to me anyway.
Sandy Jardine was a legend.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe they should rephrase it, Port, to Rangers legends and former players.
Aye, maybe. Aye, definitely, mate. I think I agree with you there. Chelsea touched on it. The forwards, Shota Arveladze, Rod Wallace, Nikica Yelovich, Chris Boyd, Jermaine Defoe, Peter Lovenkrands, Kenny Miller, Jonathan Johansson, and Daniel Kuzan. I'm going to give you my favourite out of the whole lot of them, guys, and I'd like to know who your favourite were and why, right? Mine was Nikica Jelavic. I think he was one of the best first touch strikers that I'd ever seen. The goal he scored against Aberdeen, I'll never forget it. It was a feature. I was at that game. But a player that went down to Everton as well in his first game, was double against Man United. But a very gifted footballer, but just wasn't here long enough. And like we're touching on, I don't class him as a legend, but I think he was a fantastic technical striker and scored a lot of goals for us. Jaffa, who's your pick, mate?
I love Jelavic. I thought he was brilliant. I like you've just said there, Porter, and you said he was a kind of different. Never seen a striker like that at Ibrox. He was really technical. He made all his own space. He was just like a one-man show. But you know who I loved out of all of those players? And the most flexible centre forward I've ever seen at Rangers in my life. And he literally was. He bent like a banana when he got tackled, and he just got back up and bounced up and carried on with it. Shot at Arveladze.
Mr. Dean, yep.
He was honestly just he would get bent in two and he would just bounce back up. He was like the Slinky toy for Disney. He just went back together, and then he would score a diving header. He was brilliant. I thought I love Shota Arveladze. Had a lot of time for him as a footballer. I think his attitude was outstanding. Rod Wallace as well was also brilliant. Like you go through that list. Jermaine Defoe. I mean, Southside touched on it. Not just that goal, but some of his other goals. Jermaine Defoe was that. I mean, he still had it even when he played that season for us. He was still a top player.
Can I tell you who won him?
Sorry. On you go, mate. On you go, Bob Chair.
Can I tell you who one of my heroes was? I thought he was a legend, and he sweated blood for the club. I know he's not in the legend squad for Sunday, but to me, my hero was Dado Perso. He would have sweated blood for the club. Dado Perso was a tough guy, and he really fought and worked his battle for Rangers. I love Dado Perso. And I loved his partnership with Wee Nacho. Scored a lot of goals for the reserves, guys. They were legends. I thought so.
Big Dado Perso epitomised the bandage round the head, didn't Bob G? Burst head wide open, bandage round the head, right back on there. And throwing his body about there and putting his head in where it hurts. I know, I totally agree with you, mate.
And he could hurt there.
Yeah, mate, he could, he certainly could. Southside, who and why?
For me, Mr. Goals, Chris Boyd. Don't get me wrong, Shota gave us a great night in Copenhagen. He scored away for him. We won that night, and what a night it was. And you had, you're looking at through the players, and it's there. Nikica Jelavic overhead kick against Aberdeen. It was a scissor kick up there. What a goal. Deal against them at Hampden and that. Jelavic was class, wasn't there long enough. Rod Wallace, another player, busy. Reminded me a bit of like Stephen Naismith, the guy I would never bring back to Ibrox for a half-time draw. But I'll tell you what, the wee man gave Everton a Rangers jersey. And Rod Wallace reminded me a bit like him, the way you get in between defenders and that, and we go on to the end of things. But Jermaine Defoe, if we'd had him when he was younger, he'd have been brilliant. Kenny Miller worked the channels, worked hard. Never really took to him for the day he celebrated scoring against us at Parkhead and doing his wee part of the badge. That was enough for me. Kuzan, unpredictable. Should have played in that UEFA Cup final. Sent off against Fiorentina. What a night, but he should have been playing in that final for us. So for me, Chris Boyd wasn't the most mobile, but see, when you come to Glasgow Rangers and you're a number 9 striker, you're judged on week of day, and that guy scored goals. And for me, that's what wins you games.
Yeah. You're hearing me. Gavy, who's your pick in that? Two them strikers and why?
Southside just named it. I'm all with him totally. And that bit he mentioned about Miller just kissing that badge, that monkey mob, that was enough for me. But that's where Big Boyd he's got it. That's what we need actually. Obviously, it's no easy to find these type of players. And I think it was
Kevin Nisbet.
I think it was Jaffa that brought it up about we should. I think he brought a great. I like listening to Jaffa. very eloquently speaking. He brought up a great point about what we should call that. I think it should be renamed. You could still say legends, but former players, or just do away with the legends, because that kind of word, it doesn't really go. As we've talked about, there's a lot of them there that we wouldn't say, well, he's no legend, he's no legend. So if you renamed it, I think it would get a better kind of, not say response, but it'd be more suitable for that occasion.
Aye, well said, mate. Bobby, favourite striker at that list and why, mate?
Well, I'm going to agree with you. Jelavic. Jelavic could have been a legend for us. He just didn't stay long enough. We went to heaven. But everything he'd done on the park, his touch, his goals, he was in a different league for what we used to see. He was never hassled, and I was a great Jelavic fan. Also, an Avaladze fan. I liked what the wee guy done. But the best goal I ever seen was David Cooper. But the other one matched it was Jermaine Defoe against Livingston. That was class.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But to me, Jelavic could have been a legend for us.
Aye, very, very technical player. Listen, not long to go, guys. I'm going to run through the World's 11 World squad, just to let you know who's playing for them and tell me if any of them stick out to you. In goal, they've got Paul Rachika, David James, Pascal Champonda, Robert Huth, Glenn Johnston, Yap Stam, Michael Dawson, Wes Brown. In midfield, they've got Jack Wilshere, Emmanuel Petit, Michael Essien, Stuart Downing, Geordie Kinkladze. The strikers are Lewis Boamorte, Stephen McMahon, Robbie Fowler, Robin Van Persie, and Big Canu. He used to play with Arsenal. That's a strong side they brought as well, guys. And Robbie Fowler's also their manager. So he's a player manager, so he is.
Nah, we'll go
some talent there in that team, south side there.
I just say Michael Essien and Petit. I'm sure Charlie Adam and Alex Rail sort them out.
Have you seen my crib?
Oh.
Well said.
And they've got a few World Cup winners in their team here. You're right, south side.
What a player
if you're mentioning legends, guys, for me out of that lot, the two that stick out is Fowler and Van Persie. And I agree with Southside. If you're talking about the strikers that we've got, some were good and some were great players, but no, none of them were legends. Probably the closest you could probably say would be Boyd because of the amount of goals that he scored. And it's one thing saying because he kissed the badge. Any guy that gets brought back to our club on three different occasions with different managers, you've got to give him credit. And we know what he's done with him. But at the same time, Miller, there hasn't been a harder working guy, probably one of the hardest working in history at our club. So you've got to give him credit where it's due. He did sign for us for 3 times and 3 different managers wanted him. So he did do a lot of good for us despite playing for the other mob.
Blue Star, you're spot on, mate. You're spot on.
Legends,
it's tongue in cheek, mate.
Oh, I know that. Legends,
it's a hard one to stomach. Do you know what I mean? That day, it's a hard one to stomach. Right? No, but you're spot on in what you said.
But the legends, the word legends, you've got for a legend at our club, there has to be longevity. It's the same with Gascoigne. You can't say Gascoigne was a legend. He's nowhere near it because he wasn't there long enough. Yes, he was great on the park when he played, but to have the word legend after your name, you've got to have a bit of longevity at our club.
Who's commentating on it, Port? Is it Ali?
I hope so.
Pundit of the year.
Yes, indeed. I'm surprised he's not want to go and get a game. Right, boys, going to start winding up. Can I just thank yourself, Southside, Jaffa, for helping me tonight. That was class act tonight, guys. Great debate. All the callers, Alex, Bobby, Blue Star, Old Baby. I can't remember the one.
Big Al.
Big Al. Yep. Bob J. Thanks, guys, off a phone.
AK.
Yeah, Big Alec Kelly. Yep. Got me to start. Yep. Thanks for phoning in, guys. You don't realise how much we appreciate you calling in. Thanks for the listeners out there on all the platforms, Facebook loyal, or YouTube loyal, all the ones that listen in on Twitter. We thank you for your support. It means a lot to us. Thanks to Old School Blue and Fox, because without them there's no show. And I'm going to call it good night, guys. Thanks very much. Last words for Southside and Jaffa.
Aye, mate, thanks for having us on. It's been a good night. It was a good topic, starting off with the Rangers greats, as we'll call them, and a wee bit of dialogue about other things. But yeah, let's all stick together. We're Glasgow Rangers. We're in a good run of form. We know there's a rebuilding job to be done. We're critical when we're critical about performances, but right now we all need to settle down, stick together. We know what's ahead of us, we know what's there at the end. So good luck to the Glasgow Rangers, and let's just keep it going.
Here, Southside. Thanks for having us on, Port, and thanks to yourself, Southside. Great show. I always love being on Rangers Radio. And follow. We are the people.
Thanks very much, guys. Good night.
We are the Rangers FC. We are the people, you better believe. We are together, we're doing the fancy all over the world. We had our troubles, but now they are gone. They tried to kill us, but the Bears we stood strong. We are together, doing the fancy all over the world. Lucia Vibranks for Lancer and Green. Follow, and God save the Queen. You'll hear us singing, doing the fancy all over the world. In Barcelona in '72, we beat the Russians, but Eagles did too. So celebrating, doing the fancy all over the world. Glasgow Rangers, we're back where we belong. Blue sea of Ibrox, and we're still going strong. We wear our colours, the red, white and blue. We wear them proudly like blue noses do. We are together, doing the fancy all over the world. The pride of Scotland, but that's nothing new. The pride of Glasgow, and Glasgow is blue. We are together, doing the fancy all over the world. To be a blue nose, it fills us with pride. We are united, we'll never divide. We are together, doing the fancy all over the world. Doing the fancy all over the world. Doing the fancy all over the world.